Some commentators questioned Fernando Alonso's decision to switch from Alpine to Aston Martin in the off-season, but his jaw-dropping pre-season testing performances silenced those remarks. However, it was still unclear whether Aston Martin could convert that into points. Alas, Alonso went even better at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix as he bagged a podium finish. Proclaiming his Aston Martin to be a lovely car to drive in his hands, it was also a beast as the Spaniard moved up to third place at the Sakir circuit after recovering from a first-lap collision. His teammate Lance Stroll accidentally tagged him on the opening lap, which could have ended the race. Fortunately, both AMR 23s were unharmed despite what looked like a hard collision, but it did move Alonso down to 7th. So he set about recovering, pursued and overtook George Russell's Mercedes, then did the same to Lewis Hamilton before topping Carlos Sainz to take P3. Amazing for the team. It was a great weekend and a podium on the first race of the year, he said after the race. What Aston Martin did over the winter to have the second best car at race 1, this is unreal. Alonso finished the race half a minute down on race winner Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion leading a Red Bull 1-2 on the day ahead of Sergio Perez. As for his tussles against Mercedes and Ferrari, Alonso admitted that while it would have been good not to lose places at the start, it definitely added a welcome dose of drama and adrenaline to his race. Aston Martin made it a double points finish with Lance Stroll crossing the line in 6th place. To say that Stroll performed well, being 2 weeks removed from wrist surgery and having a broken toe, would be an understatement, and Alonso certainly felt that way. First of all, congrats to Lance, my teammate, he added. He had surgery 12 days ago and now he's fighting right with everybody. While Aston Martin's garage was full of hope and jubilation, the same cannot be said about Mercedes, with the Silver Arrows receiving their final confirmation that they hadn't made the progress they had hoped for over the winter. Mercedes has been struggling with tyre degradation for most of the weekend on the abrasive Bahrain track surface, with Hamilton coming into the race saying the team was in the dark on their race runs. Despite getting a good start, he was unable to match the pace of Alonso and both Ferrari drivers. The Ferraris were just quicker than us today. We're the 4th fastest team. We were close for a second and then just couldn't hold on, Hamilton said after the race. We've got a lot of work to do. We've just got to add downforce to the car because we're lacking a lot of downforce. As soon as we put more load on the rear and the front, we'll pick up that pace. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff, meanwhile, came to a damning conclusion after the car showed a deficit similar to that of last year. He acknowledged that continuing with the fundamentally flawed car concept from the previous year was a mistake. Although the W13's bouncing and porpoising issues have been resolved, its evolved version lacks downforce. Mercedes was not consistently able to access a significant hypothetical performance in 2022, but it has broadly exploited the potential of its current car and still fallen short. As a result, Wolff has urged his team to take unconventional technical steps in an effort to turn things around before it's too late. We have all the ingredients to be successful, people in an infrastructure that won 8 consecutive championships in a row, and we got it wrong last year, said Wolff. We thought we could fix it by sticking to this concept of car, and it didn't work out. So we just need to switch our focus onto what we believe can be the right direction. What is it we are missing? And therefore those data points this weekend are very important. We've seen from the GPS data where we are lacking performance and we see where we are good. So we just need to sort out what that is. Whether this is sticking wider side pods on the car or really subtle things that bring performance, this is a different question, but definitely we will embark on untreaded paths. He added that given how well Aston Martin has performed while using the same engine, gearbox and rear suspension, there is no doubt that it is an aerodynamic weakness as opposed to one related to the mechanical platform. Mercedes has a significant upgrade planned that is expected to be introduced for the 6th race of the season at Imola, and there have been hints that there could be visible changes to the side pod concept. But while the team has made clear that the strong ground effect underfloor, which is the main source of downforce, overrides the side pod geometry as the concept's focal point, the side pods do play a major role in it all. When asked if his remarks about the need to access a change in direction applied only to the current car or the specification currently being developed in Brackley, Wolff dashed hopes that this upgrade could represent the change in direction that is necessary. That's because he said his remarks applied to both the current car and the specification that is stated to be released. Mercedes was keen not to jump to conclusions about the lack of overall potential of the W14 heading into the season, despite the fact that there were concerns about the performance level. level. As a result, it expressed confidence in the car's ability to eventually be competitive enough to compete at the very front of the grid in its pre-season messaging. But when asked about that comment today, Wolff said that while Mercedes has met its development goals, the current aerodynamic package does not have that potential, dashing hopes of fans of the Silver Arrows to compete for victories anytime soon. "I don't think that this package is going to be competitive eventually. We gave it our best go also over the winter, and now we just need to all regroup, sit down with the engineers who were totally not dogmatic about anything, no holy cows, and decide what is the development direction that we want to pursue in order to be competitive enough to win races." The issue at hand is whether Mercedes has the resources required to make the right choice. Although the concept is the same as last year, it is believed to have experimented with a version that is more in line with the Red Bull direction in both CFD and wind tunnel simulations. However, these have displayed comparable performance levels and haven't given the team any reason to think there will be significantly more development potential to be used. Mercedes could easily change its strategy in that direction, but there's a chance it won't be able to achieve the anticipated performance improvements unless it has a clear understanding of why it would be more beneficial. In the meantime, it has a development pathway that will result in more performance, and that it has already advanced further down than the car that is currently on track. So, does Mercedes continue to work in that direction, or should the team acknowledge that there isn't enough room for improvement? Even if the RB19's development is stagnant, the package anticipated for Imola won't be enough to close the gap to Red Bull. And while there is still more that can be gotten out of the current concept, as demonstrated by the surprisingly significant improvement Mercedes made on Friday to Saturday, especially in the faster corners, the potential ultimately seems to be lacking. Wolff remarks imply that Mercedes does need to make a significant direction change, its ability to choose the appropriate course, and, if it does, how long it will take to deliver the required performance while pursuing a pace-setting Red Bull team, however, is in question. Furthermore, given that, despite its flaws, the Mercedes is still not that far behind the competition in absolute terms, making it unclear how significant of a change is required. Change for the sake of change is not the best course of action, rather it needs to be supported by reason. Even so, a silver lining remains. Having struggled on Friday both for single lap and long run pace, changes made overnight led to a significant improvement, which at least allowed the Mercedes duo to qualify 6th and 7th. According to trackside engineer director Andrew Shovlin, this came after they were able to fix a few problems, such as their lack of high-speed cornering. Both drivers worried that qualifying would be a struggle as they ran the risk of falling victim to the midfield group's snares. But those adjustments at least made sure that Mercedes could remain in the leading group, despite being the slowest of the four teams that now make up the frontrunners. Russell emphasised the significance of Mercedes W14 being a better package to work with than the car from the previous year, while Hamilton felt the car had improved in terms of rear instability and traction limitation that were noticeable during testing. Even if its potential is ultimately limited, Mercedes appears to have a foundation upon which to build. One thing flies in the face of whatever optimism they may have, however, and that is the undeniable dominance that their arch-rivals Red Bull have demonstrated. Russell even warned that if things keep up, the 2023 season could be a very dull affair. "I don't think anybody's going to be fighting with them this year. They should win every single race this season. That's my bet. With the performance they've got, I don't see anybody challenging," Russell told media. Their pace seems weaker this weekend than it was in testing, which was a bit strange, but they've got it easy at the moment and they can do what they like. They might not get pole all the time because we know that Ferrari are very competitive at qualifying, but when it comes to race pace, I think they're in a very strong position. So, what do you think about Mercedes' situation? Is it still too soon to declare that they have failed? Are you looking forward to seeing more of what Aston Martin can offer? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos.